Hi, this is going to be a quick overview of what is covered in Chapter 1 for my econ class. So let's get started. One of the early features that you need to remember is that the study of economics is all based on this concept known as scarcity. So the factors of production are going to come into play in a moment, but what you have to remember about scarcity is that people are trying to make choices all the time, and there's not an unlimited amount of the supply of resources available out there. So this is what comes into play, that factor that scarce resources exist. We need to figure out how to divide up that pie. And so the best way to think about this is maybe precious gems like diamonds, and how scarce they are with a limited supply, and how beautiful they are. People want to buy them, and they'll spend enormous amounts of money in order to get that. So that's a prime example of how that works. The same can be said for the price of oil and how it fluctuates, one of those main resources that we consume greatly. All right, so moving on. So scarcity does occur when there's a limited supply of resources to meet unlimited needs or desires, whereas, if I can hide this for you so you can see it, shortages occur when producers will not or cannot offer goods or services at current prices. Okay, so moving on. With respect to the factors of production, there are 4 of them: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. I believe it's on the next slide. So what they describe is the following. Land is all those natural resources that are used to produce goods and services. So water, timber, air, different minerals that are out there. So those are all different things that we use and consume to make products on a regular basis. Labor is the effort that people devote to a task for which the person is paid. So in compensation for their efforts, laborers, the workers, are paid a wage or salary to help produce the goods and services that we consume. Capital is any human-made resource that is used to create other goods and services. So this would include financial capital, the money to invest and create new businesses, as well as all the machinery that is used at a factory, for example, that manufactures, say, cars. And back during the Ford creation days, when Henry Ford created the assembly line, it was mainly human labor that was doing most of the work. Today, that is way different, where you can see robotic arms and things and innovation taking place on the factory floor inside of an automobile factory. All right, so moving on. And the one item that's not mentioned on these slides is entrepreneurship. Keeping in mind that entrepreneurs are super valuable in any capitalist society. They're the innovators. They're the ones that create new products. They're the ones that take a risk and design something new. So maybe you can be that next big entrepreneur. We'll see. So when you're looking at the difference in land, labor, and capital, this might help you. So with respect to land, vegetable oil is used for corn, right? And then as a result, you can, in order to get popcorn, the human effort needed to pop the corn happens, and then let me hide myself over here, and then the corn popping device, whether that be a microwave or maybe you have one of those air poppers. So you kind of get the idea that in order to make popcorn, you're going to need a combination of those things. Okay, moving on. Let's keep going. I think we got this, right? Opportunity cost. So, with respect to opportunity cost, there are a couple things you need to remember. All individuals and groups of people make decisions that involves trade-offs. Trade-offs are the alternatives that we give up whenever we choose one course of action over another. So one thing to keep in mind is that there is something called an opportunity cost as well. So when we're making those decisions, and maybe we narrow it down to two things we could choose, the most desirable alternative that you gave up as a result of a decision is called your opportunity cost. Okay, so let's explore that a little bit. Here's another way of looking at it. A decision-making grid comes into play where you have a list of your alternatives, and I've helped a number of people in a similar way make a decision on, say, which job offer to take. Those kinds of things occur. So when you're looking at alternatives, here are your choices. Karen is left with this choice. She's either going to sleep late or wake up early to study. And so there's benefits, and then it covers the decision, what the opportunity cost would be, and then the benefits that they gave up if they choose the other thing. Okay, so exploring that, if she decides she wants to sleep late, then she would enjoy more sleep, have more energy during the day. If she decided to sleep late, she would give up the extra study time, so she would probably not get a better grade on an exam. The teacher and parental approval would probably fall, and her personal satisfaction with herself, because she isn't doing such a good job in school, would drop. Okay, and the other item, a wake up early to study alternative would say, well, she'd do better on the test, teacher and parent approval goes up, and she gets personal satisfaction by waking up early to study for a test. She forgoes extra sleep, so that's called her opportunity cost, and then she doesn't get to enjoy more sleep or have more energy during the day. So hopefully that decision-making grid makes sense, and you can apply it to virtually everything, from whether you should have breakfast in the morning or even brush your teeth. So hopefully you did both because you woke up early enough to figure it out. All right, moving on. Thinking about benefits or cost-benefit analysis. This would be a way of looking at it a little more closely. And so if you break it down in terms of how much time you spend studying, the benefits might increase as you study more. And so the opportunity cost, and I'll remind you that you're giving something up, would be additional sleep. So consider the fact that as you study longer, you're going to lose more sleep. So maybe if you figured it out and managed your time a little better, you could not have to stay up so late. Production possibilities frontier works like this. If we had the following thing going on, you could work this out. So, and let me remind you as I reappear here, this is hugely important. You guys need to understand that companies need to make these kinds of decisions all the time, but you too, when you're making decisions, have to weigh your options in terms of voting with your dollars. And so this has a big effect. So when looking back at a production possibilities graph, you've got two things going on. One is you've got shoes in this example versus watermelons. And so not all of this can be done. Because maybe they have similar resources that they might use, or factory floor. And as a result, these types of situations exist where in points A through F, they represent the different combinations of production for either item. Okay, so you can't do all of both. You need to make decisions. And so that's what this curve is trying to represent. So if I was just to point to point letter B, 8 versus 14 means 8 million pairs of shoes versus 14 million tons of watermelons could be created. And so as you fall down this direction, this would increase the production of watermelons, but it would bring the shoe production down at 21 to 0. See that? So this is just showing you how a comparison of two different items, maybe they have a similar investor, and so because of that you have to make choices, and it's not easy. When you're looking at efficiency, if you have things that are not being utilized, then that would mean that your production is not at full potential. The full potential exists on this line. So if you see a point that's below this line on a production possibilities graph, that means that the production is underutilized or idle. And that's not good for business either. There might be reasons why that's happening, but we'll explore some of that later. In order to achieve economic growth, remember, and I'll hide this so you can see, it would have to extend outward like that. So if additional resources became available or new factory floor and investment occurred, then the potential to grow both opportunities for production would be included. That's it. Okay, I think you get the picture. I can skip that. So that's it. Law of increasing costs. Last thing. This states that as production switches from one item to another, more and more resources are necessary to increase production of the second item. Okay, so make sure that you understand these basic concepts, and we will be able to move forward and explore other more complex things. Have a great day.